Hi there, my name is Remy Diederich, and I'm the author of the book, Broken Trust. I wrote Broken Trust to help people know if they are in a spiritually abusive church or organization, and if so, what to do about it. I answer questions like, how do you leave a spiritually abusive church? How do you recover? How do you find a healthy spiritual community? This video series takes a few lessons from that book. I'm taking a look at what you might do to recover from your spiritually abusive experience. This is part 2 in the series. Now, one thing you might notice in this series is that sometimes I refer to churches and other times I refer to spiritual communities or organizations. And that's because not all spiritual abuse happens in a church. So I'm using different terms to relate to as many people as possible who may have suffered from spiritual abuse. In the first video, I talked about why it's important to leave a spiritually abusive situation and why it's so hard for people to do that. In this session, I want to talk about why it might be helpful for you to take time away from attending church or whatever spiritual community that you might have been a part of. Now, in the Christian world, people are often quick to quote a verse in the Bible that tells people to not forsake the gathering of the saints or believers. And here it is from the letter of the Hebrews. It says, "Let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another." This is absolutely true. And I believe in the importance of joining a local church or spiritual community and being highly involved in it. The idea of gathering together is an important principle of spiritual growth and discipline. The writer of Hebrews said this was being written to people in the early church who had gotten caught up in the cares of the world. They got preoccupied with their daily lives, and many stopped gathering together with other believers. So, those words make a lot of sense knowing that kind of background. But those words weren't written to people who suffered from spiritual abuse. People who have been abused spiritually are wounded and need to take time to heal. Now, let me explain. You see, in the physical world, what do you do when you're injured? Well, if it's serious enough, you go to a hospital. You don't go to work or school or play sports. You pull yourself out of your regular routines to get the help you need, right? You don't ignore your pain. In fact, you focus on it, giving it all your attention so you can heal as quickly as possible. This is true for when you've been wounded spiritually as well. It's important to disengage from your regular spiritual activity to clear your head and detoxify your mind from the poison you've been fed. There are at least 4 reasons that it's important to take time away. Let me list them for you. First, it's helpful to take time away from attending church or a spiritual community after you've been abused because it's too easy to ignore your pain and fall back into old spiritual habits, just hoping everything will be better, hoping that time heals your wounds. But this can easily just be a form of denial where you jump back into a religious setting and bury your pain in religious activity. The problem with this is that buried pain always resurrects itself eventually and can cause you greater problems, undermining the new life that you thought you had created. It's like a person going through a painful divorce and immediately getting married again. They might find a great new partner and believe that this new person will help them to put their pain in the past. Things might even be blissful at first. But eventually, the bad seeds from the first marriage will sprout and begin to undermine the new marriage. That person would have been wise to take time away from any new relationship to consider what went wrong and then be healed and rethink what it means to be married. And the same is true when you've had a bad spiritual experience. It's important to take some time to work through what went wrong. Second reason it's important to take a break from church is that many churches are riddled with legalism. And by legalism, I mean religious rules telling you what you need to do to be acceptable to God. You see, You might be so used to this kind of church that you don't even recognize how unhealthy it is. And so you fall right back into an abusive situation. People do this all the time in relationships. And when you have two back-to-back bad experiences, it's easy to just give up on God and your spiritual quest altogether. The third reason to consider taking time off from a spiritual community is to re-examine your faith. I'll talk more about this in my next video. But when you are in a spiritually abusive context, the story that you are told is often very distorted and narrow. You need time to reflect on who God is, who you are, and what church should be, what makes for a good spiritual leader, just to name a few. So rather than jumping right back into another spiritual community, use your new freedom to gain knowledge and a fresh perspective on what healthy spirituality looks like. The final reason to take some time away from church or another spiritual community is to be able to fully appreciate and engage in a new community once you are finally ready. You know, many people find it very difficult to jump right back into a new spiritual community. There are too many triggers that remind them of their past abuse. The triggers can even come from good things like a worship song or a Bible verse. But in your past, if those things were used to manipulate and control you, they can be painful reminders of your abuse. And you might feel re-traumatized, spoiling your new church experience. Plus, what often happens is that the people around you don't appreciate or understand the trauma you are experiencing. So they minimize it, saying things like, "Oh, that's nothing. You're just overreacting. It's not that bad. Don't make such a big deal about it." Right? I bet some of you have heard those words before. I was coaching someone just the other day who told me that they had started attending a really good church right after leaving an abusive church. But the more we spoke, this person revealed that it was very difficult to attend the church. As good as it was, they felt flat emotionally, like they were just going through the motions. And they wondered what was wrong with them. Well, there was nothing wrong with them. They just went back to church too soon. They hadn't healed yet from their previous abuse. The same thing happened to me. When I left an abusive church, I wasn't comfortable returning to church. Although I tried attending a number of churches, but they all felt shallow and legalistic. So I stopped attending church for 5 years. I felt guilty about that because of the heavy expectations that a good Christian should always be a part of a church. But then it occurred to me that Abraham in the Bible didn't have a church, and he didn't have a Bible either. Yet he knew God, and he was able to hear from God, and he is referred to in the Bible as the father of the faith. So I realized that God didn't love me because I attended church or read my Bible. And so I felt that God gave me permission to sit out from church until I could return renewed. And that's exactly what happened. Not only did I return to church, I soon started a new church where we could offer people the grace that God meant them to have. And I credit my taking a break from church with what enabled me to be so fruitful in ministry. You see, leaving church for a season, it didn't harm me. It helped me to heal so I could return to church a new man with a healthier view of God and what a spiritual community should look like. And that's why I believe that one of the best things you can do to recover from spiritual abuse is to take time away from attending church or a spiritual community so you can renew your mind and get a fresh perspective. Now, I've got another caution for you. Not only will people minimize your trauma, they will try to intimidate you to returning to church before it's time. So be strong and be prepared with an answer for them. Let them know that you aren't leaving God, you just need some time to heal and you'll be back. You don't want to jump from the frying pan into another fire that's even worse. These people have good intentions, but they don't understand your situation. Okay, well, I hope all this helps you. Be sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss the next video in this series. And if you'd like to read more about how to recover from spiritual abuse, check it out. Check out my book, Broken Trust. It's available on Amazon.com, and there's lots of reviews there. I'm also happy to coach you in the steps of recovery, and I offer a free introductory offer if you're interested. You can learn more about all my books as well as my coaching service at readingremy.com. In my next video, I'm going to talk about how to use your time away from a church or spiritual community to gain a fresh perspective on God and faith. And I hope you'll join me for that. So until then, bye-bye.